Welcome back to another video here, guys. It is your boy Kesh, and today's video is going to be pretty short, pretty concise, but I wanted to talk about something particularly in what they call the manosphere, right? Male self-improvement, essentially, but it's really gone down the wrong direction over the last few months. Not even the last few months, really over the last few years. So what I wanted to kind of address, got something on my lip here, forgive me. Something that I wanted to address was Looksmaxxing in particular, right? Looksmaxxing has taken the world by storm. I've known about it for nearly a decade. It's been out there, but now it's really in the mainstream. You got, some of these nerds like Clavicular, and you can go on and on and on. And I usually don't talk trash about people on my channel, but I really wanted to essentially just eliminate this kind of influence from the manosphere, from male self improvement. And the reason is this, right? A lot of you have probably heard of this, of the statement or the phrase, just be confident, right? And of course, since being confident is actually more difficult than being good looking, right? Because you can get plastic surgery, you can do all these augmentations. Because being confident is much more difficult than it is to be good looking, and really more important than being good looking, a lot of guys just dismiss it as just something that is hoopla, it's BS. All the people who have the most success are just the most good looking guys, right? So just being confident is bullshit. It's cope. But I'm gonna go ahead and kind of get into what I mean exactly by why just being confident is everything that you need. And I actually wrote something, so I'm just gonna read it out and then I'm gonna go into more detail, right? But the way that I see it, it's a conspiracy. Just like a lot of things are a conspiracy to take men away from their purpose, to take men away from, caring for themselves on an internal level, from being masculine, and getting them to be more feminine. Because the more feminine a man is, the less he's willing to stick with his values, the more he listens to his emotions, the more animalistic he becomes, and as a result, the easier he is to control. You just have a world essentially of women running around like chickens without their heads, looking for direction. And guess who's Big Daddy? Big Daddy's going to be the government. This is not even truly a conspiracy. If you've ever heard of silent weapons for silent wars, this was an operation that was conducted by the CIA. They say allegedly, but if you just look around at what's happened over the last 30 to 40 years, 50 years, you can see that silent weapons for quiet wars has absolutely come into fruition. We are now the end result of a covert war that's been going on for the last 50 years. And Looksmaxxing and focusing too much on the external, like a woman would, is what is silently destroying men today. And again, the reason is this: the reason that they told you not to focus on your internal world, not to focus on your confidence, because confidence isn't just if you're able to talk to people, if you're able to talk to girls, right? It's so much more than this superficial take that we've applied to it, where it only relates to how we utilize it in our mating strategy. I mean, are we just animals, guys? Like, aren't we supposed to be above the animal? What does the animal do all day? The animal fucks, the animal sleeps, the animal eats. And unfortunately, a lot of you are wasting your human potential doing that exact same thing every single day. You never evolve above the animal mind, right? So when I talk about confidence, I'm talking about self-belief. I'm talking about identity. I'm talking about aligning yourself to your highest self, right? The one that is here to create. Animals don't create. Animals are as they are, and they follow instinct. We have creative capabilities given to us by the creator. We are literally co-creators. If you do not become aware of this, If you do not maximize this, you will always be an animal. And confidence is the gap between where you are and where you should be. Because self belief, self love is going to always calibrate you properly and keep you at the highest baseline. It is not simply something you have that allows you to get laid more, right? That is ridiculous. That is a byproduct of already vibrating at the highest potential reality, or at least very, very close to that potential reality. And again, the reason they told you that confidence was not good enough is because they only want you to focus on external things. They want you to forget your soul and just focus in on the body, right? The internal world affects the external world. The external world should not be affecting the internal world. It's the same reason that you'll have a guy Looksmaxxing and get all of this attention, but he's still nervous, he's still shy, he's still anxious, he's still depressed, because the internal world has not been addressed. It has not changed, right? They want you to forget that the external world reflects the internal world, not the other way around, right? And what this does is it causes you to further forget who you are and your potential, which is to be a co-creator. This is why confidence is the key to life, ladies and gentlemen, because confidence is the opposite of fear. And we all know fear is the number one stopper of forward movement and spiritual, physical, mental expansion. Confidence is the number one predictor of success, because in essence, you are ignoring the 3D. You are ignoring reality, right? When they tell you, go get that job, you're like, I'm good. When they tell you, oh, you got to be like this, you got to be like that, you're like, I'm good. I know I have it figured out on the inside. I am ahead of my time. It'll catch up and eventually you guys will get on it, right? How much balls, how much confidence do you have? Do you have to go against the grain? If there's a grain, I'm going to go against that. You dig? How much balls, how much confidence do you have to go against the tribe? One of the greatest aspects of biological and behavioral psychology within the human is being able to follow the tribe. That's one of our greatest assets, right? But you know what's an equally greater asset? Being able to go against the tribe when the time is necessary. And in order to be able to do this, in order to be a trendsetter, in order to be someone who is captivating, magnetic, attractive, you have to know the difference. You have to know when it's time to go against the tribe, right? And these days, it is more often than not that you must go against the tribe. And you can only do this with high levels of self-belief, high levels of confidence, high levels of competence, and high levels of spiritual mastery through isolation and the knowledge of self. If you wish to know God, you must first know the self, which is an extension of God. You are imbued with God's essence. So following along with what everyone's doing, with what everyone's saying, only looking at the external, right? Only looking for external validation will always keep you a slave to what everyone else is thinking, to what everyone else is doing, to how you are being perceived, which in essence will cut you from ever feeling true confidence, right? And as I said, it takes balls to be this audacious. But because you are imposing your frame in such a way, the universe has no choice but to submit. And this is an analogy, this is very similar to how the masculine force makes the feminine submit. Not through violence, not through pressure, but through objective confidence, right? Through such a strong frame of self-belief that it has no choice but to submit. And once it submits, there is coherence, right? Once the feminine, the universe, the uni, right? The uni, they call the uni, is another word for the vagina, right? Once the masculine energy, strong, forward coming, no pun intended, right? Forward coming, strong, confident, high self belief, with real values, chosen values, it comes into the universe and it makes the universe submit, and it now is working with the universe instead of against the universe, right? The universe is simply a projection of how you feel internally. This is why they say we're in a simulation. This is why they say it's a hologram. The universe is a hologram, right? Because it's being projected internally from the soul. So if you're focusing on looksmaxxing and only working on the outside, the money, the fame, and you still feel unfulfilled, you have work to do, because there's still a part of you that fucking hates who you are, right? That doesn't love who you are, that can't accept the truths and the realities of what you have lived through and what you have become as a result. And I'm talking to my men out there, because we are the ones who are built mentally, physically, and spiritually to encapsulate the entirety of reality. Women and children are not, right? And I don't care how that comes off. They are not, and they shouldn't. That's my job. That's our job. But when we're walking around here acting like a bunch of women, looksmaxxing and trying to look fucking sexy instead of trying to be sexy, instead of trying to be attractive, there is a huge fucking problem with that methodology. So reconnect back with the self. Expose yourself to the traumas that you've gone through. Look at them for what they are. Look at them for the one-time events that they were, which you internalized and then projected onto your life for the last 10, 20, 30 or more years, right? Admit to yourself that you were wrong. Admit to yourself that you have done wrong in the past, right? Admit to yourself that you were programmed by a less than efficient masculine frame, and rework yourself. Become a tabula rasa, a clean slate, and choose your values, choose your morals, choose the things that you now wish to be programmed with. Be a man and stop being a fucking victim and take charge of the life that you want. Choose it every single fucking day. Because once you do that, your internal world, your dirty room will now be clean. And what is projecting from this room, from this internal world, is beauty, right? It's confidence. Now you don't have to go out and buy $1,000 outfits and do these ridiculous procedures on your face, right? Now you're naturally attractive. Now you're naturally beautiful. Now everyone wants to be around you. And the beauty of it is you don't ever have to worry about not having it, because it comes from within. You have an infinite source of this energy to push out into the world, right? When you're always focused on the external, what happens one day when you get a pimple? What happens one day if you were to break your nose? What happens one day when you can't wear the clothes that you want, or you get a little bit overweight and you got to work it off? Are you just going to turn on yourself and think that you're a worthless slob, right? Are you always going to be at the mercy of reality and the external? Or are you going to control reality and control the external through your internal world, where you always have an infinite source of energy and knowledge? You tell me, man. This is a message to all the fucking guys out there. Stop being a fucking bitch. Stop being a fucking little ass girl, right? Women live in that world because they're supposed to. It's good for them. It is not good for you. Go out there and be of service today. Project beauty onto the world. That is your job. Have a good one, guys.